Hi, Sam.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Brent?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. No, welcome to my channel here, Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, everyone, I would like to introduce Sam Kaplun. He's actually from Eglinton-Lawrence in Toronto, Ontario. And tonight he's going to be talking about his election campaign and the need to increase ODSP. A lot of pressing issues when it comes to rates for sure. And I'd love to hear about your election campaign that you're seeking election on. This is wonderful. Thank you very much, Sam.
Yeah, of course. And again, thank you. And ODSP, you know, funnily enough, not only am I not an ODSP, I don't even personally know anyone who is, which is, I suppose, in a way fortunate, given that, as we are here to discuss, the rate has been kept criminally low for the past few decades. And in fact, after factoring in inflation, it's less today than it was under Mike Harris. And for those of you who aren't from Ontario or don't know about Mike Harris, he was a conservative premier in the late 90s who slashed and slashed and slashed every last social program as well as tax that he could. So that is quite the stark juxtaposition. And in fact, at the doors, when I bring it up, I didn't ask people, could you live at $1,200? And it's actually less than $1,200 per month in Toronto. And of course, every time the answer is no. So given the fact that, I've been somewhat involved in disability circles in the NDP when I was still with the NDP, and just having learned about how ridiculous it is that ODSP has been kept so low, and how disabled people, more broadly speaking, are, in a lot of ways treated like second-class citizens, I've just felt that it was really important to make this issue at the forefront of my campaign because it's something that is just so under-discussed and under-addressed in Ontario and I'm sure Canadian politics at large.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the rates have just been suppressed so badly over the years, and deliberately suppressed. And with the election coming up just around the corner, a lot of the platforms are announcing 20% over 2 years, 20% right away, and then 100%. Definitely doubling the rates, and then I believe the Conservatives they threw in 5%. So that's not really going to lift people out of poverty for sure.
No, I mean, there's different metrics, and I don't think there's an official poverty line.
No.
The Liberal and NDP, and of course the PC proposals, all explicitly keep disabled Ontarians under the poverty line. I have heard a rumor that I cannot confirm or substantiate that the NDP may be making a significant change to its ODSP proposal tomorrow, but I couldn't comment on that until we actually find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So to hear about your election campaign a little bit more on that, for sure.
Yeah. So
it's quite exciting.
To make a very, very long story short, I was initially planning to be the NDP candidate. I essentially was the NDP campaign in the riding of Eglinton-Lawrence here where I live, and it's not an NDP riding by any stretch. So I was mostly on my own with a few friends helping out. And for rather frivolous reasons, I failed the party's candidate vetting process, as have a number of other activists, particularly activists who surround their work in disability advocacy, have also failed the vetting process for rather suspicious reasons. So anyways, that's not the point of the story. The point is that now I'm still here to talk about the same issues at the doors with folks in Eglinton-Lawrence. And as far as my campaign is concerned, I'm simply getting out there every day and speaking to as many people as I can about the issues that are important to them, and of course about including ODSP. Of course, when people ask me my top 3 issues, I always say ODSP, education, and housing, though it is admittedly hard for me to narrow down. And honestly, things have been going really well. There's been a really great reception at the doors. In fact, I've already gotten rid of almost all of my lawn signs, and I'm putting in an order for an additional 75 over my initial 50 tomorrow. And getting the flyers out there. I have honestly no idea how many votes I'm going to earn on June 2nd at the end of the day. And even though I'm very curious about it, just as someone who's an election nerd, that is the least important aspect of my campaign. Because my goal is really just by talking to folks that we can push the envelope on a number of these issues and really bring forward as much support as possible for change.
Yeah, for sure. And like, what's your view on the housing front?
Yeah, I think we would all agree here that there is something of a housing crisis going on, not just in Toronto, though perhaps especially in Toronto, but across the country, where even people like myself, and I will say straight up, I'm a pretty privileged, well-off person. Even I will never be able to afford to buy a home later on. So what does that tell you about people who are working class and people who are poor? So, this is something where the quote-unquote answer is so multifaceted and so complex that I couldn't boil it down to just, any one policy. But my long-term aspiration, my ideal, is that we get to a point where we treat housing or think of housing the same way that we do about healthcare, about education, and about public infrastructure, where you are entitled to it by virtue of the fact that you're a human being, that it is a right guaranteed to you because you exist on this earth.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, housing is a human right, and nobody should not have, enough money to basically pay for the housing that they need to, they need to be in. I mean, it's not even a choice of saying, well, I can't afford housing, so I can't live there. And I mean, there should always be a basic standard in place that people will have enough money to meet all their basic obligations in life. I mean, buying food. I mean, putting the lights on. I mean, paying the heat, your rent. I mean, your medications, any accessibility things that people need in their life to help them, get around for sure in the communities that they live in.
Yeah, absolutely. As you just touched on, and this is not something that I have any expertise or personal familiarity with, but I understand that there are a number of excessive hidden costs for people living with disabilities that they require to survive, whether it be related to mobility or purchasing fixtures for their home that help them to get around their home, whatever it may be. So on top of the cost of housing, which is already astronomical, there are all those additional hidden costs that most people wouldn't even realize exist as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different people like have different dietary supplements that they need that they don't always they can't always get at like different places that maybe they'll offer them at. I mean, there are places that people can go to get different supplements through the government, for instance. But then you have to jump through all the hoops to see if you qualify for all these extra supplements, and that that's a lot of red tape and. Time said, all and done, and they'll review it and say, well, you don't qualify because you don't meet a certain condition. Where if you had like a basic income, then I mean you would get all that stuff, all your needs covered for sure.
Yeah, and I think the statistic was something shocking, that something around the realm of over 1 in 5 Canadians say that they are, I found it. It was from Angus Reid in 2015. 1 in 5 Canadians report that they or someone in their household had taken some sort of method, something like cutting back on their medication, like from the full dosage that they're prescribed to be taking, to ensure that they can continue to afford their medication. And, that's why the whole pharmacare is a big political issue, or at least it was in past elections, though I actually haven't been hearing it spoken about too much lately.
Yeah, you're having to juggle everything around in order to, to basically cover some of your needs, but then some of your needs are actually left out because you don't have enough resources to do to everything. Like with the rising costs of rents everywhere, I mean, just outrageously high. I mean, skyrocket, right? I mean, across the country. I know they're really high in Ontario, like very high, and in British Columbia, where I am, they're extremely high too, and. People were priced out, right? And I mean, especially with the Ontario election coming, that really has a huge impact on people's pocketbooks for sure and their well-being. And So, what goes on there, I mean, it really affects a lot of other provinces. So, I mean, Ontario, that's a good starting point to show as an example that things can change, and people have to vote very strategically. And I'm so proud to, that you're running, because, having a great voice out there that can make positive change for people, I think it would be awesome. I mean, totally.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, again, it's not terribly likely that I get elected, but really any amount that I can move things in the direction of closer to those changes is a victory, of course.
Well, bringing awareness, I mean, to the issues at hand, and having a young voice out there, and you're a go-getter, I can tell. Yeah, and that's what we need, right? We need a lot of young people out there and putting their hats in and saying, yeah, I can make the change happen. And yeah, wow. I mean, it's just you inspire me in so many ways. It's reading up on your campaign and stuff, and it's so cool.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a huge part of this too. Is like I want to show, why the hell can't young people run for office? And in fact, I myself was inspired by the 2019 NDP candidate here in Eglinton-Lawrence, Alex Nash. She was, I think, maybe 20, 21, going to university at the time, still in university. And until that moment, it hadn't even clicked for me that young people could and should run for office. And that was what sparked the idea for me over the past 2 years to want to run here in Eglinton-Lawrence. So it's a continuous cycle, and I hope that, much like what happened to me, someone will see what I'm doing and go ahead and do it themselves.
Well, yeah, we need strong advocates for sure, and I mean, more the better, right? And yeah, I think it's a good thing that you're doing.
At least in part, the number of votes I earn on election day is not the end-all be-all, because, well, of course, the ideal would be to get elected and then make it my full-time job. Even if I'm not, I'm still going to be able to continue this work in my community, and that's the beauty of it, is that, and I'm very, very far from the only person like this. There are people out there that are just genuinely trying to do good and not just trying to advance their own political careers. And, I want to get out there and be genuine and tell people that I'm here to help, no matter what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to see your idealism in the legislative Parliament of Ontario. Do you know what I mean? I want to see really good people running the province is what I want to see. I want to see good people in politics.
Thank you. And of course I want that too, Patricia.
That is what I want. Yeah.
Awesome. Nicely said. And it really gives you a lot of really ambitious to really strive forward, and a lot of those great ideas what Patricia has mentioned. I mean, I guess we're just kind of coaching you there, Sam. It's we believe in you, and I know that you'll do whatever it takes to do the best you can with it. And advocacy is so important, right, in the communities that we all live in, and in so many ways of our strengths that what we believe in, right, and what we stand for. I know some people don't, they just get in because that's for different reasons, but then they don't advocate at all, right? It's like, are you kidding me? And so with this is so great. I mean, that you're so young at heart, and also, and you have what it takes. I know, and you're in good hands because the gentleman that's your campaign manager, he rocks.
Yes, he does. And everyone in this chat has what it takes too. All it takes is being a genuine member of your community who wants to see some change happen.